So I am turning 23 this year, and I feel like every year, New Year's and on my birthdays for the last 3 or 4 years, I keep saying this has been the worst year of my life, the absolute worst. It can't get any worse than this. And I mean, including like when my mom died and when my stepdad died. Those things that are really heavy, really hard, and then after that it kept feeling like, no, this is it, no, this is it. And considering this past year, this past 365 days since I turned 22, there have been a lot of challenges that I never expected to face. Just felt like, just thing after thing keeps happening to me. And it's been hard on me and on my mental health, my well-being. And I think at some point in this past year, kind of came to a realization that something wasn't right with me, that there was something wrong with my brain. And I wasn't sure what that was for a really long time. It's like, no, I'm just depressed, or it's the circumstances, nothing's like wrong with me. And I mean, I have depression. I've had it for longer than I can remember, probably middle school or maybe earlier. I don't really know when you can start to tell that kind of thing. I struggled with self-harm, suicidal thoughts, all of that, and I was eventually put on medication. And I spent a good portion of this past year on medication, but I realized that I was still depressed, that I would just go through these crashes, these highs, just be depressed for months, and then suddenly feel like I'm on top of the world. And I remember one day I was watching an episode of Law and Order, and there was this character who had kind of experienced a lot of the same things that I felt like I was going through. Just like, I'll be depressed for 2 weeks, and then the next thing you know, I'm doing all the stupid shit that I can't control, that I can't explain to myself, that I have no justification for why I'm doing that, for why I'm exhibiting this kind of behavior. And that character had bipolar disorder. And I was like, no, that's not what I have. I'm just sad. I'm just depressed. I'm just going through some difficult circumstances. And so I put that on the back burner. I was like, there's no way. I'm fine. And then every now and again, that thought would come back up. Just peek around the corner. Hey, remember this thought you had? Maybe it's still true. Maybe you're not crazy for thinking that. Maybe you're not a hypochondriac. Maybe this is real. And I'd be like, no. I can't do that. That's not real. And then it happened again and again and again. And I noticed my life slowly starting to be more and more of these cycles. I'm on top of the world, I can do anything, I can accomplish every goal I've ever had in my entire life, accompanied by these painful crashes, spiraling downward, and eventually I just kept spiraling downward. It got really bad. I hit the lowest of lows that I could ever imagine, and I just kept coming back to this thought. And maybe there's something more. with what's wrong with me. Maybe there's something else, something more complex than just being really sad sometimes. That those highs weren't normal. That it wasn't just that I was happy to not be depressed anymore. And so a few more months went by because procrastination and, you know, when you're in that state of I feel like I can do anything, you don't think about things like getting help. And then about a month ago, 2 months ago, I finally saw the first doctor. I was just kind of like, hey, this is how I feel. This is what I've been experiencing. This is what I think it is. He's like, well, I can't diagnose you. I'm just a general doctor. You need a psychiatrist. I'm like, what? Psychiatrist? It was terrifying. And at first I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. There's some validity to what I think. But I don't want there to be some sort of validity to that. I just didn't want it to be true. But I went to the psychiatrist. I saw him anyway, was absolutely terrified again, cried through the entire appointment. Again, just terrified. Because I didn't want it to be true. But I was right. And he diagnosed me and he put me on medication. And I think it's honestly the best step that I've ever taken towards anything good in my life. And I think I wanted it so badly to not be bipolar disorder, to not have something like that wrong with me. Because depression, sometimes it ends. Sometimes you don't deal with that your whole life. Sometimes you can get off medication and maybe you go back on it, but you're off it for a while. It's not as permanent of a problem. I didn't want this permanent problem. I didn't want a medication for my entire life. I didn't want something so long term. But that's what I have. That's what I face. And it's been maybe a month and a half at most since starting medication, since starting therapy, since going towards healing. And again, it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But it made me think. We have a way where, I don't know, maybe someone out there was like me, didn't understand what it was like, didn't understand what it meant to have bipolar disorder, or understand how they were feeling, and that was it. To feel like you can do anything ever, and then the next day you think you're the worst human being on the planet. To crash like that. To be broken like that. And my therapist, she encouraged me to do something that benefits someone else. And I thought of a bunch of little things that I could do. But maybe someone watches this and they realize, they understand that they're not okay. They feel empowered and encouraged to find help. Maybe there's nothing wrong, and that's great. But maybe there is. And you can take that step forward. And that's powerful. And even if you don't think anything's wrong with you, I think there's so much benefit for people who are mentally healthy maybe 90% of the time, who maybe just have a bad day here and there or whatever. Or maybe not. Maybe your life feels great. To go, to see a therapist, to talk things out, maybe once in a blue moon, and experience that. Just a mental health checkup, I think, can be this empowering thing. Like, yeah, I'm fine. And I know I'm fine. Or maybe just to be like, I'm not fine. And coming to terms with that. Admitting that to yourself and to a doctor. And not just pushing those thoughts away for years. Because I can't think of when these cycles started. You know, maybe something huge just kind of came by and shut me down and I had some sort of mental break, or maybe it's been my whole life. I don't know. But I know that I'm doing what it takes to get better. Even if it's scary. Even if it's terrifying. So, I don't know what's gonna come from this video. Maybe no one watches it and it just sits there on the internet forever, and maybe someone puts some mean, terrible things in the comments or what have you. Maybe I never watch this video again. Maybe I never say anything else. But maybe someone hears this and they feel moved about the things that are wrong with their brain. And they seek help. And they know that there's no shame for that. It's okay to not be okay. Music artist Hobo Johnson says, roll with the punches even when it feels like you're getting fucking jumped. And maybe that's what turning 23 is for me. Maybe that's what the next year of your life is for you. So that being said, just to conclude, I'm gonna put some of my information, my Instagram, my Twitter. I'd love to hear from you if you're watching this. I'd love to hear your story, because I think sharing your story is something powerful, something moving. And I can't promise I'm gonna be able to come for you, but I'm gonna be able to listen. And maybe I make another video. Maybe I don't. So do what you want. But I hope you listen. I hope no matter how you feel about where you're at in your life, that you do what it takes to get healthy, to be mentally healthy and not just physically healthy. And that's all that I have.